All right, so we now have a quorum, so we'll call this meeting of the Public Health and Safety Committee to order December 17th at 6:25 p.m. President are Alderman Carr, Alderman Fahrenwald, Alderman Klinker, and Alderman Cazares. Absent from the committee are Alderman Hill, Alderman Johnson, and Alderman Slattery. Also present in the audience is Chief Rita. Chief Arzab let me know she was not going to be here tonight, and no Don Marchbanks. There are no citizens, so we're going to go to the fire department business, Chief. Starting with monthly reports.
All right, you guys all should have that in front of you. The breakdown for November as it was for emergency call responses. 288 EMS responses, 106 fire responses, 10 of which were auto aid, and it's broken down for the corresponding towns that we went to, and 1 mutual aid response that was to Oak Forest for a change of quarters. The monies collected for the month of November for medical reimbursement, $47,246.63, which the attached is the first page after that. That's the yearly breakdown and the year-to-date total. Year-to-date total was $396,958.22. Monies collected from fire recovery for the month of November, $1,378.08, bringing that total year-to-date to $20,854. The false alarm fees collected in November was $300, bringing that total to $4,477.62 for the year. Calls of interest for the month of November, we assisted Robbins, myself, and the engine with structure fire at the old incinerator. They are apparently tearing it down or dismantling part of it, and they caught some trash and a little bit of the wall and some other stuff on fire in there. So we were there on a Monday morning. We had a body recovery at the old refinery. It appears that that gentleman had been there for some time. It was turned over to Cook County, but we assisted with them. It looks like he was stripping some wire, and it was live, and he electrocuted himself and was in the pit for a little while. So like I said, we assisted Cook County with that. Structure fire, I went on the full still to Crestwood, and then we had one in town on the 19th. I believe that was before our public safety meeting last month. On Everett, kitchen fire. The guys that had made a nice stop. It was really one line, some ventilation, and that's about it. And then later in the day, we had a fire in Cal Park, and we assisted them, myself and the engine. On the back, general information, as you guys probably know, Chicago Fire was back in town, which we assisted them with. We provided a standby crew for that. That was in November as well over at Jean's Dry Cleaner. They were going to come back later that month or earlier, actually earlier this month, but could not get permission from the water rec to get on the canal. So they like the town, obviously, and you saw Fargo was down there the other day, or yesterday. So we're like the Hollywood of the Midwest. So I've been preparing for the 2020 appropriations / budget. Obviously, as we get into that. And going off of some of the recommendations what you guys had last month, so that's been pretty much my month of December, is getting that along with the other stuff done and hopefully shored up for the upcoming process. Maintenance, the pump for the Amicus tool is still having issues. We did have the guy come out yesterday. He's got last week. There's an issue. That pump is pretty old. You will see as part of the budget process a request for some more extrication equipment. We only have one full set, and we have a combi tool currently. I did put in for a grant last year and was denied, but we'll submit, like I've said before, we'll submit again this year, but you'll see it in the budget, and obviously I'll explain all of that as we go through. The tower ladder is still out of service. It was back for the light parade. We were able to get that back for that, but then they finished the project. It was 2 wear pads that were replaced. When they went to test the ladder the day of to return it, one of the wear pads was ripped out again. So they will be replacing another wear pad. That is all on them. EVS will be picking up the tab for that, but it's going to be out of service for a little bit longer here. But we will have it. It's sitting in Station 1 right now. It'll be here for the ball drop. We just won't be able to extend the ladder beyond going up with it. Let's see, fire prevention. been working on the smoke detector distribution plan. I have a couple of ideas we're floating around, so we'll get into that a little bit more. Probably after the first of the year, we'll have an idea of what we're going to do going forward. Flow MSB and the pre-plans are continuing. Lieutenant Olson completed and conducted a plan review, and Lieutenant Zielinski's been doing his inspections on a monthly basis. Training hours, that's also attached in the packet. That will be the second stapled sheet. They broke down as 239 hours. You can see the individuals. Again, some of this is going to be skewed because of the computer issues that we've been having. We've also had a few issues with guys being able to log in. I think that we're getting closer to having it all done. Bill's obviously spread pretty thin, so he's doing the best he can with us. But 2 of the 3 shifts the issues are minimal now as far as getting logged in and getting all this set up. So these numbers should increase for the month of December. I've reported previously ongoing drivers training with probationary firefighters. That's still going well. We did host a building construction class on November 8th and 15th here in the East Annex. We had a variety of different departments, most from Mavis 22, but a couple from the outlying areas as well. It was pretty well received. That was the first time that we had hosted a class here, at least since I've been here. So again, there's some things, and I talked to Alderman Klinker about that via text and email, a few things. There's some things that obviously we should improve on with that. And going forward, if that's what we're going to continue to do, because it would be my intent to try and get as much training here as we can, that we do a few things differently. But all in all, I think it went fairly well. Like I said, the guys seem to be pretty into it, so that was good. And then the SCBA fit testing for the year was completed, and that's done as well. Operationally, we're going to be talking, we have an officers meeting scheduled for Friday. We'll talk about some of our operational efficiencies and what we're going to be looking to do in the year 2020 going forward. And then as it relates to EMS, we're still exploring our ALS options as we move into 2020. And again, that'll be in the appropriations as we discuss it. The other staple packet is the breakdown of the overtime for the month with the corresponding hours and the reasons. You will also see in there an invoice for Chicago Fire, the filming. That's what we charge them, and we'll be getting reimbursed for that as well. So, and then the last page on that is the 7G breakdown as well. A little bit light, but nonetheless they were participating. So, any questions about the report?
Just wanted to ask, I'm
Yes,
just
sir.
curious, the medical reimbursement for November was pretty high. Does that have anything to do with the closure of Metro South, or is it not?
No, I think we ran a few more calls. I think some of that's the trickle down for the rest of the year that we're getting. We're seeing a lot of the end of the year closeouts of that. So, no, the call volume was up a little bit more than the previous months, but and we're busy. The last couple of days we've been extremely busy. I think the ambulance from Station 2 has been out pretty much all day yesterday. It was gone. So it's getting busy. So hopefully we don't have an outbreak of anything, but the season's here, so we'll see.
Any other questions on this report?
No.
Nope. All right, we'll move along to there's no other old business, or there is no old business that I can think of. New business, authorization to proceed with repairs to the 2010 Ford Explorer.
Yeah, and I don't have the quotes. I just am looking for, again, trying to get an understanding. Obviously, some things have changed a little bit, which is fine. But again, bringing it before the committee, we have money under vehicles. Obviously, I was involved in an accident coming to work. A woman ran the red light, and I clipped her back end as I was going through the intersection on the green. There's some damage to it. I don't have the estimates as of yet because we were waiting for her insurance. That was the beginning of October, I believe it was. So we have yet to hear from her insurance. So the attorneys are looking into that, but they asked me to obviously come before you guys and see if we can just go ahead and proceed with getting it taken care of on our end, and then going back after the insurance on her end when it's over, it's said and done. So
Ballpark idea?
it probably a couple thousand. It's the front quarter panel and a lens on the light, on the headlight. That'll be about it.
So the plan hopefully is that it's going to get reimbursed from her insurance.
Correct.
And there's money in your budget for vehicle repairs?
Under vehicles, yes.
Under vehicles, yeah. You know what, I actually got a sort of updated list last night from Marisol, and I looked before, and there's actually quite a bit. At least on paper, there's quite a bit. I don't know if you've had any other major repairs that we don't know about.
waiting on that. Well, we can take it out of two places. I did have set aside, and this is actually one of the, I should have added one more thing, but if you'll indulge me and let me talk about it after this, there's one other thing as far as, and I don't know when it was brought up, but we had gotten a squad car from the police that we had it's sitting at the shop and it's worked on. It needed a new transmission. This was at the beginning of the year. We got that all approved. The transmission's in. It needs a few other things done to be able to. We're going to use it as a chase car for Station 2 or fire prevention, one or the other. And that way it gives each station a backup or a car. Anyway, that being said, when we were looking at doing that, and with the whole Posen ambulance purchase, there was a line item that was vehicles is all it was listed as. So there's money in there, and then there's the line item you're talking about, the apparatus repairs. So either one, there should be enough money, but the apparatus repairs were, the biggest one is obviously the ladder that I just spoke of. I don't know what that's going to be. I would imagine that the initial cost is going to be pretty costly, but I don't think it's going to be 40-some thousand, so.
Does anybody have any ideas, suggestions? I mean, I have a suggestion. I mean, as long as this money's going to 99% chance to get reimbursed, I personally think we're okay with go ahead and sending that one to get repaired. Are we all good with that?
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead with that. I think I'll hold off on the other one, Chief, until the other car you're talking about.
Well, I'll get you more information.
Yeah, get us more info on that one. But as far as this one, because we're looking to have it the money come from this person's insurance. And it's also something I know you need, because I realize that because I was wondering, I'm like, I wonder what happened to that, because I see you driving that big old Expedition, and then I see the guys out doing fire prevention stuff driving the Expedition. I'm like, are they sharing a car? And
well, the Explorer is still, they can take that.
or Explorer, whatever. I get those mixed up.
There is, and again, just so you know, and I thank you for approving it, the car that we're talking about, they already did that work. Like I said, that was in between the transition,
right.
So you'll see a bill for that. He's getting me a quote on, there's a few, it needs, I think, new tires and brakes and some other.
Yeah, if you can get us info on
but
that
I'll
one,
get you all
and then
that.
hopefully we'll have an even better idea on finances.
Yep.
But yeah, I think we're all good with that. Go
Yes,
ahead.
that's fine,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. Anything else on that, Chief?
No.
All right, the next one is discussion regarding acting pay grievance filed by the BIPFA. So Chief asked for it to be put on as a resolution, and I don't know if I misunderstood you or not, but we're no longer, we used to be in the process for their grievance procedures. The fire committee, or the public health and safety, was like step 2. That got taken out a few years ago, so grievances go to you first, then to the mayor, if I remember correctly.
Or his designee.
Or his designee, and then to arbitration, right?
Correct.
Okay, we were actually the second or third step in there, this committee was, but that got taken out a couple contracts ago. So we were just gonna discuss this, so.
Yeah, the resolution was not a resolution.
Right, that's why I said I think we got confused, so.
I prepared a memo just so you guys have a little bit of a back story to what this is all about. So this was, I think, yeah, it was right around the computer crash as well, because I couldn't answer it initially because I didn't have the forms and all that stuff. But there was they filed a grievance in regards to acting pay for the person at Station 2. Okay, obviously, you know, I presented, which this committee approved back in, I believe it was August, another set of lieutenants for Station 2. It was, like I said, I think it was, the original date was October 4th or 6th, I'm not sure of when this grievance was, but it was in essence for the individual that was in that acting capacity at Station 2. We went to, I denied it initially. They obviously wanted to go to second step. We finally had the second step hearing back last Wednesday. Carrie was there as the representative for the city, along with myself, Union President Duffy, and member McDonald were there. The reason we're coming before the council, or before the committee, I'm sorry, is because this is going to cost, if obviously it goes to arbitration, and depending on how it's ruled on, it's going to cost the city, you know, potentially whatever that ruling is, as far as them going to fight it. If they rule in the favor of the union and they give them the acting pay, or they give them another set of lieutenants, obviously it's going to affect, you know, the overall cost. So we're trying to come up with, Carrie asked that obviously we go before the committee, see what your guys' thoughts were, if you wanted to try and settle this with them beforehand, see how receptive they were. Like I said, a lot of this stems obviously from the thought and the belief, not only from them, but also myself, that there should be another set down there, but this is just the acting pay for that individual that's down there. They currently, as it states in the memo, they're currently getting that if the lieutenant's off at Station 1, whoever's taking his place does get that act-up pay. They're looking for it for Station 2 as well, in that regard.
So they're looking for acting lieutenant pay at Station 2.
Correct.
So every day they would want either a lieutenant at Station 2 or acting pay at Station 2.
Well, they didn't grieve the acting lieutenant, or the lieutenant spot. They're saying that if that individual's down there as in an acting capacity, which in essence with 2 rigs, fire apparatus, he's doing the same duty. Their argument is the same duty as the officer at Station 1 or acting officer at Station 1. So, again, the breakdown, it's $348, I think, is the shift differential. It's from the topped out fireman to the junior lieutenant pay. That fluctuates based on whoever the acting person is for that day, and what their hourly rate is calculated at. So that fluctuates a little bit, but roughly $83 a shift is what you're looking at to pay that individual.
And this occurs when the lieutenant is off?
When the lieutenant is off, but they're looking for a position at station. That's again, I'm not saying this is all related, but I'm saying that was the whole crux, or one of the reasons why I wanted to push for another set of lieutenants is, again, I feel that there should be management at that spot, or there should be supervision at that spot, or that station, and then force, if we come down this road where we're at, that at some point they're gonna say, hey, this is what we're looking for. And again, I understand the financial constraints and everything that we've talked about. Again, I think that if we have 2 stations, there's a need for 2 sets of supervisors on a day-to-day basis.
This is just informational at this point, you're not?
And I thought he said that Kelly Burke was going to be here to get a little bit more in depth, but this is, we had the second step. So the next step is either we, as a city, obviously try and negotiate something, whether it be a side letter, whether we become some type of agreement, or it goes to arbitration, and whatever, obviously the arbitrator rules, that's what the city's stuff.
So step 2 of the grievance procedure is the mayor, right?
Yes.
So is this what he wants to do? I mean, it's not really from what I understand, and I wish Kelly was here to ask, it's not our decision.
No.
You know what I mean? I appreciate the information. I think everyone appreciates the information, but I think this is basically on him to make the decision what he wants to do.
Okay.
And then obviously if it's something that's financial, it's probably going to end up going through the finance committee. I
Right.
get, and everything where, I don't think anyone here is against having supervisors, and I said that before when you brought that up, that the issue's always been the dollars behind
Right.
it, and yeah, so I mean, I don't know if everybody else has anything else they want to add, or.
I guess, yeah, not really, I think that you said it pretty well. We don't have, we can't take an official action of the committee on this, so you're getting our opinions. And it's in the mayor's hands, and I think you're right, the finance committee would look at it. I also agree it would be great to have supervisors, but money is an issue, so I mean, that's kind of, I don't have, and I don't see the actual numbers, so I personally can't say yes or no to this or that, but I think you've probably got a sense of what we need to do, and you do the best you can.
So let me ask this, and this is just kind of going even further, step further. Those lieutenants are off duty, they still want, obviously, upgrade pay for that next guy, too.
Yeah, I would imagine that's the next
okay.
thing, yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, like I said, thanks for the information. I mean, I believe it's up to the mayor to make a decision, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay. All right, you have anything else? Anybody else have anything for him?
I don't think so.
Okay, police department. Thanks, chief. So police chief Arzab let me know she was not going to be here tonight. She did send the monthly reports, which I emailed to all you guys. We're going to have her report next month. She'll just give a report for 2 months, because we could sit here and look at it all night long, and I'd rather have her here explaining it to us.
Makes sense.
So really the only other business we have under police department is the task force. So if Bill, you want to give an update on that? For speeding,
So we'll
sorry.
do that. Okay, thank you. So we've made some pretty good progress. The task force was created back in October 15. We've had 2 meetings of the task force and an update meeting here at the committee as we've moved along, very kind of considering various options, having to do initially with a petition that was given to us by the residents of Florence, signed by 42 of their residents, requesting that some action be taken to calm the speeding that is occurring on their street. And the issue there is, and I think everyone's pretty much agreed on it, although we haven't done a study of it, that because Florence is a convenient route to use as a shortcut going southbound, either from Western or Vincennes, to avoid the traffic signals on 127th Street, and the street is nicely paved, That there are people who use it as a shortcut and accordingly, tend to run pretty fast down it. So we did have a really good meeting of the task force, I thought, last week, I guess it was, December 10. And basically came up with a primary recommendation and some other thoughts. So the primary recommendation, and we looked at kind of a way of moving into this, I guess cautiously, so as not to do something that's an overkill solution. Probably to do the first thing we thought that could be done, that might address the issue, and frankly at the lowest cost. And then there's some other potential actions behind that we could consider. So the first solution that we're recommending is to restrict turns, I'll read this here, restrict turns to discourage the use of Florence as a way to avoid traffic signals at 127th Street. It is believed that these drivers are most likely to be speeding on Florence. Signs would be placed on existing city poles, which would not require IDOT permission, and that's a big deal, both from cost and time. And then we positioned on cities poles southbound on Western Avenue, forbidding left turns onto Florence during morning and evening rush hour periods. And southbound on Vincennes Road, forbidding right turns into Florence during morning and evening rush hour periods. So again, the idea is to restrict them. Having that restriction in place then does give the police force a pretty obvious enforcement option. If they observe someone making an illegal turn, it's real easy to stop that. And to do this as an initial step to see, what difference it makes. It's the quickest, easiest, and least expensive action that can be taken to calm speeds on Florence, and we feel should be implemented, enforced, and monitored to determine if this is an adequate solution. So that would be a first step. And also in discussing this in the task force, again, we didn't want to set precedents for maybe taking a more drastic and perhaps, more effective, might seemingly effective option that can be quite expensive. And these options are placement, installation of electronic speed signs that record the speed of vehicles. These are those signs you see, they look like a speed limit sign, but they're lit up, and they tell you what your speed is. The benefit is they also collect data, everybody who's speeding and when and what the speeds are. And that does permit, of course, us to know more, and then to maybe also have enforcement at the times when speeding is most prevalent. But it does cost something like $3,500 to $4,000 per installation. And we would also need to develop a criteria for the use of these signs, because once we put them in one place, then we're going to have a lot of requests, of course, and we have to have some criteria objective that would, permit us to properly vet those kinds of requests. So that's kind of a significant task that we feel we don't want to undertake at this particular moment. The next option, it would be the creating of bump outs at one or both ends of Florence that would require drivers to slow to navigate restricted and curving traffic lanes. You come to the end of Florence at either end, the curb would bump out, restrict the lane, make it necessary for you to make a bit of a curve and slow down. Again, it's significantly more expensive and time consuming, and also might not be feasible once the loss of parking spaces is determined. Florence is very heavily parked. That's one of the problems, because speeders can tend to run into these parked cars. But the problem is because there's a lack of parking space. So by removing parking spaces on Florence, you may be creating another problem. Same kind of true for speed bumps, speed humps, or speed tables. We're basically recommending against this costly option, which would also be difficult to implement on a street as narrow as Florence, and it creates potential liabilities for the city in the event that damage or injury results from a crash associated with this kind of roadway calming device. And finally, we did just discuss briefly the issue of speed cameras. They simply aren't allowed essentially outside the city of Chicago. The legislation apparently is written kind of restrict the size of the city, and it pretty much is Chicago that they're allowed in. So that just isn't a viable option at this time. So we, the open question is here: do we want to proceed with this recommendation to put up the signs? Do we want to, ask for further citizen input, perhaps from the residents of Florence before we move ahead with it? If we do move ahead, then we want to publicize to the residents what we're doing, why, and invite further comment from them in that regard. So that's
One quick question.
Sure.
Is Florence a two-way street? I thought it's only one way.
It's a one-way street, right?
So southbound on Western, forbidding left-hand turns onto Florence. So that
Oh, yeah,
would
good
go-
point, yeah.
And
We don't
then,
have to-
so it's only,
You need
the
a one-way.
southbound on Vincennes,
Right,
you don't
yeah.
need that. You only need one
Right,
way.
you're right.
Would just be anyone you know, if you just made it,
Right.
for everybody left-hand turns on Florence during morning and even rush hours, you know, you could make it both north and south. Well, no, then people who live on the block can't get there.
Yeah, and
You
we
know.
don't, I think northbound, we don't think that's the problem.
Yeah,
so
okay.
much.
Well, I mean, so, yeah, just
Yeah.
like, that just
a
struck
good
something
point.
there with me.
That's a good point.
Suggestions, ideas, I know that both Will and Bill are on the committee, so what, I mean, I know we talked about a town hall, I personally still think that's a good idea, because
Yeah,
there are
I think-
other areas in
Well,
town.
for that, we could
Further
run this,
discussion.
You know,
run this out to them, yeah.
You know, try to
Why
set
not?
something up for, like you said, January or something,
All right.
and then we could, you know, get it on the city website and all that other kind of stuff, so that hopefully we can get other people here and other people in other wards, and aldermen can pass it through their wards,
Yep.
to see if there's other, because there are other areas that are dealing with the same thing.
Yep, that'd be fine.
I mean, as long as that's okay with you, and that's
Oh, yeah.
okay with the residents of Florence Street. I mean, I know they know we're working on it, or you're working on it, I should say. So I think that's a good idea. I don't know exactly what needs to be involved. Maybe we can contact either Carrie or Kelly to, I mean, obviously it's gonna have to be publicly, you know.
Posted, well,
Because
Randy
you
can
get a bunch
probably
of
help us with
them.
that, and
Yeah.
we'll work with Marisol and Randy and.
Yeah, pick a date far enough in the future that we can hopefully, you know, let people know and get a good turnout.
Okay,
that
that
work?
sounds good.
Yeah,
Great.
work?
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Shall do.
All right, nothing else on that, I don't think. New business, there is none. There's no one here from Baima. Health inspector, I think, is now reporting to a different community. Any committee, I'm sorry. Alderman's comments or concerns, anyone? No? No? Awesome, quick meeting. All right, next step is adjourn. So motion to adjourn by Alderman Carr, second by Fahrenwald. It's 6:50 PM. And our next meeting, so all in favor? Sorry. Aye, opposed, none? Okay. Our next meeting is January 14th, 2020 at 6 PM. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you.